I remember a very long time ago when I was with my friends and I mentioned that because I simply do not care, I do not know what's all the physics behind the moon making the ocean do its thing, the ocean waves and all. And all the kids around me called me dumb. And this one guy was like, "It's so simple. How can you not know this? You're a retard if you don't know this. The sea is on the earth. The moon is in the sky. The moon controls the ocean waves." And I was like, I'm not gonna say it. So I just kept it in my mind, but I was like, "You're such an idiot. All that you know is that the moon has an effect on the ocean and makes it do its thing. You don't know anything about how it works. You didn't tell me anything about how it works." And so I just thought about it in my mind. I was like, must be something to do with the gravitational forces. And then I did like 3 minutes of research, and I was right. What I visualized in my head about how it would all happen with tides and all, this is exactly why I made the balance series on cars. Because I don't want people to know, oh, front engine cars understeer. I want people to know that front engine cars understeer because the engine is right in the front. And if cornering in this front engine car, you are rotating around the pivot of rotation that's too far back, your driving is unbalanced and out of sync. The engine is going to be a liability of weight torque since the pivot of rotation is in the wrong place. There's obviously a lot more detail. I hope you've seen the Balance series. If you haven't seen the Balance series, then go check it out now. I'm not done with it. That's the crazy thing. But you get my point, right? There's absolutely no point knowing that the moon makes the ocean do its thing, or that a front engine car just understeers. Where does the understeer come from? Out of the pink. Need to know why double wishbone suspension is good. It is built to maintain the desired camber angle you set it at. So during the compression stroke, the camber angle doesn't change and all of a sudden you're riding on your rum. I'm gonna talk about some racing theory stuff. So let's jump right into it. What I just brought up right in the beginning of this video, why you need to do certain stuff now. It's not that something does something, but why it does that and how it does that. If you're wondering what I'm doing, this is my helmet. I've been taking off stickers and cleaning it. Look how smooth the front looks. And I got a Ken Block sticker. This is the only sticker I'm not taking off because it's the only one that actually sticks. I'm just getting go-karting deja vu looking at this helmet. Since I'm cleaning my helmet and my mind is on go-karting, might as well use this time to make a video giving go-kart tips. Look at that. It's basically there. First of all, I'm sure you've seen the Balance series. Now, the way a go-kart is built, the balance of it, it's mid-side engined. Actually, mid-rear side engined. Yeah, that's what it is. Right. So that's where the engine is. Now, how the hell can the engine not be in the dead center? That's going to be a big imbalance. And you're right. The engine has a lot of weight and it's only on the one side. So, and that's the right side most of the time. Should be all of the time. So, usually going clockwise around the circuit is the best because now the weight on the right can keep the right down as you take the corner and all the inertia is trying to make the car lean to the left. So, the engine will keep the right side down. That's why most circuits for go-karting go clockwise, and there are a lot of right-handers. But you see, rotation works a little differently. It's weird because go-karts are so light. I think the driver with the kart is about like 170 kgs average, or it could be just the kart. I didn't research properly. I'm just talking from what my subconscious knows about the max weight. That could be you and the cart, that could be just the cart. Ah, flip, I need to go kart. But anyway, like I was saying, because the cart is so light, so the engine doesn't need to be super powerful, so it can be smaller. But the weight of the engine that is there, even though it's a small engine, it is a little magnified because of the chassis being so light. But then again, there's you. you're another 70 kgs, well, in some cases, another 90 kgs. Ah, deal with it. Be less fat. Here's the thing. So, like I was saying, so how to rotate a go-kart perfectly. It's not just the engine that you're rotating around because you're quite a heavy weight and you're in line with the engine. You're kind of in the same place. You're a little forward because you also have legs, but most of your weight, you can say all of your weight, is saturated in the area that you're sitting, a great amount. So you are kind of rotating around yourself and the engine. The engine is far back, you far back if you're not short. To reach the pedals and all. Let's just say you're not a midget. Just for this video, you're gonna be far back in the mid-rear position, mid position, and so is the engine. So your rotation axis is far back, like it would be in an NSX. You have a lot of influence on the rotation of the go-kart. I loved drifting the kart when I was younger, rotating it by a lot of drifting angle. I could sit further forward because I couldn't reach from all the way far back. I need to go-kart again. I'm thinking of joining a club. I'm gonna get some content out of go-karting soon. Soon, I promise. If I didn't tell you, well, there's gonna be a list of podcasts coming soon on the channel. Various amazing petrol heads gonna be on the podcast. I don't have a name for it though. I want some fancy name, not some sensible thing like Pistonfury Podcast. So comment down below some sort of cool name I can give this. I hope you all have lately enjoyed the videos of 20 minutes of waffling, that playlist. Yeah. Me talking absolute jack for 20 minutes. Don't worry though, you're not wasting all your time. There's a lot of good information, some things you just need to talk about. So depending on where you sit, you can influence your rotation. But if you're gonna sit very far away from the engine, it's not that you're changing the pivot of rotation. You're kind of unbalancing it because now there are two big weights, and if they're too far apart, they're not going to help each other. What's going to happen is the one is going to be a liability to the one that's being pivot of rotation. If the other one's the pivot of rotation, then the other one's going to be the liability to that. Or you can use it for your benefit. Rotate it like a transaxle rotates the engine. But your pivotal rotation, it can vary because of how the cart's built, where you sit, you and the engine, the sensor weights. So a lot of people say, do not drift your kart. You'll just drive rubbish and it's going to be slow. And other people are like, oh no, you have to drift it to be fast. It's all bollocks. You don't drift a kart to go a little faster. You rotate the cart to control all the weight of the cart to work for the benefit in every corner, to stop any sort of weight being a liability. This must be your mindset first before you think of, is drifting faster or slower? This is not the best cloth, but it's one I could find. I know it's kind of trash. Or probably in the comments being like, how can you use that for your helmet? You're gonna destroy your helmet. You're not a true racer. Oh, you should not own that thing because you have such a terrible cloth. Look, man, it's not scratching it, and a part that I've used, I don't use again. It doesn't scratch at all, actually. No. It makes it so clean that I see the scratches from the previous owner. Yeah, this is secondhand. But I washed it like, man, I lost count how many times I washed this thing inside, out. I washed the hell out of it. But some smells you can't get rid of. But it's better than going to a go-karting track and using public helmets. It feels like I'm flushing my head through a public toilet. That's what it feels like to wear those helmets. So, should you drift or not? The fact is, the go-kart is not a Porsche, so there is a small level of wanted slip angle. But obviously, it's not that you must have slip angle. We know this. There are different ways to rotate a car. I'm going to start with rotating by slip angle. It's been my style, it's been my favorite. Lift the wheel speed ratio, slip the tires, then stretch the car out. I'll tell you just now about stretching. I'll tell you at the end. I'm going to tell you what I've done in one go-karting session trying to balance a cart as if you are doing it. So I'm like going to say what you must do. So, get in the go-kart, sit as far back as you can. You must still efficiently have control of both pedals. I wish it could be three though. Manual go-karts, imagine. Talking about manual and automatic or shifters or whatever. gearboxes. I'm designing a gearbox. More on that later. So sit as far back as you can. Exit grip. And also it's better for the overall balance of the go-kart. You're closer to the engine. It's like you merge with the engine. This is the way I like to slip it, right? At the entrance of the corner. I'd brake hard, most efficiently as I can. There'll be deep trail braking to lift up the wheel speed ratio with very minimal steering. This way I can rotate the cart perfectly for the entry, pushing the engine in the trajectory of rotation. I'm rotating it with the rear wheels and the front wheels for the entrance. The rear tires would also possess a small level of blocking friction, braking. But because the front tires don't have much steering angle, it's impossible for them to have blocking friction. So they stretch the car out during the braking entry. Allow the rear wheels to push the engine and push me harder in the trajectory of rotation, harder into the corner, harder turn in. Then I open the throttle, slipping it with some power in that small margin. Rotating it with the steering wheel. I need the steering wheel to rotate it also because the pivot of rotation is back there. So there's a little bit more rotation from the front end than from the rear end. You're only driving unbalanced if you're just going to do a zero counter rotation. You're rotating it around a pivot that's further front. You're rotating it around a pivot that's not your own weight. It's not the engine. So the engine and you is going to be a weight torque liability. You're going to drag the cart out wide. A little bit of an exaggeration, but the fact is it is unbalanced and it's slower than perfect rotation in a go-kart. You see, the thing is you are right in front of the rear wheels, and so is the engine. So it's easy to feel like you're perfectly pushing the engine and yourself in the trajectory of rotation. Because you're right there in front, it's very hard to miss the engine. You'd have to do a big angle drift in order to miss yourself and the engine. So it'll feel like you're pushing yourself. So it's easy to be fooled thinking, oh, I'm doing perfect rotation. As long as I'm pushing myself and my rear tires are slipping a bit. But if you listen closely to your cart, you'll realize that you're not pushing it perfectly. You're pushing it in a wrong trajectory. You need four-wheel rotation. Your own weight and the engine cannot affect the car with any inertia. Perfect balance is when not one single weight in your car or cart is affecting the car with any inertia, only benefiting. So you got to push the engine. You could also just, oh my word. See, I used to do this thing of zero counter steer drift, and it was fast. But when I tried rotating the card like it should be, my lap time sprung up. I remember there was this lap time hustle at the place I used to go kart at. They just changed the track, and I was one of the first few people to come test it out, and I got the record. But obviously, it meant jack that I got the record because, I mean, the fast people didn't even come yet. I think I go karted like once after that at that same place, and then left it for a while, and then the leaderboard filled up, and then someone took my place, and I was like, no, haha, I'm stamping my authority, and this was when I was kind of not driving the cart perfectly. I was only rotating with the rear wheels, and I felt it in a few different corners. I felt a bit of wrong. I felt a bit like something's wrong. But I got the record back. But then I didn't go for like months. Like months. And here's the thing, right? This place that I'm talking about, their go-karts are good. When they just changed the track. A few a few weeks or months before that, they brought new karts in. A few months before that. And they were performing very well. And then the months later, when I came back, someone took my record again. And then I was like, well, I'm going to get it back, just like I got it back before. But all I was doing was breaking belts. Man, the tires were all worn out. I actually popped one of the tires. I just, I wore it out to its limit. I just heard, bah! Tire popped, gone. I don't know how many belts are broken. But yeah, the carts went down and they don't maintain them properly. I love them, but they can't maintain their carts. There's this one guy that works there. Close friend now, man. We go karts, we race each other every time I come there. But he's one of few actual like racing enthusiasts. I don't think the boss is a true car enthusiast. I think he's just a businessman. Because those karts are not maintained properly. Oh, look at that. Somebody look at that. Oh, somebody look at that. Oh! Oh, I love it. Oh! Oh! So I wasn't driving properly, but I still got that record. And then it was taken away from me by like milliseconds. But I couldn't take it back because now the karts were old. It had been many months. They leave the tires on forever. So you are using tires that's many laps old. And it's also, and you see it's not just profession, and you see it's not just racers that ride those cars. It's also people who can't drive. They cook those tires and the carts themselves get weak. Yo man, the one time the engine was misfiring like hell. It was terrible. I was like, no, I'm getting out of this cart. I went to the pits, I was like, give me a new cart. And I took my favorite cart. I call it Alpha. Long time ago when I it's the cart that I latched onto that time and I got a record that time. Like very long ago. Before the story I've just told. Before this time. Like years ago. And then I got into another faster cart. Better handling, better balanced, just a better chassis, and less misfiring engine. And then that one broke. Some jackass broke that cart. I was so mad. But that let me reunite with that first cart I used to ride. I remember it. I remember it because it was an absolute power bomb. Man, it had all the power in the world. But now this time riding it again, it had a problem with the throttle and they were not fixing it. You see, what would happen is, so I'd be going flat out, go through the flat out bend, and then when I brake for the chicane, low speed chicane after a fast bend, like Imola. So I brake for the chicane, and then when I lift off the brake, the throttle just goes full. It was crazy. The throttle was jamming. When they bring new carts in, it's nice. But when they've lived for some time, they get extremely sus. I'm not gonna lie, those carts are sus. But anyway, I learned how to handle a jammed throttle, a throttle that has a mind of its own. I call it Alpha because what is that? Because it was one of those first cars I drove that gave me a record in the past. And because it's like an Alfa Romeo. I hate it, but I love it. I adore it. It has problems, but I love it. See what Jeremy Clarkson has to say about Alfa Romeos. The Giulia Quadrifoglio. That's exactly what that car was. So, driving. How can you become a faster driver? Well, you need to know how to drive your car right. When I say this, I mean, it might sound simple. It might sound like, bro, what the hell are you saying? But driving fast is useless and pointless. It's actually dangerous. No, I don't mean dangerous as the same meaning your mom means. I mean, if you don't want your tires, then drive fast by all means. I don't mind. But if you actually want to be truly fast, you need to learn how to drive your car. If you do lap times at the track or up and down the tollgate or something, whatever you do, or if you do sim racing or go karting. Oh, I used to be so big into go karting. I get withdrawal symptoms, but back to the point. The whole balance series is there, and there's still a lot more coming on the balance series. I explain there how to drive a car and the basis of driving and all of that stuff. Sense of balance, engine rotation, all of that stuff. Let's just say you watched all of those videos. In order to truly be a fast driver, here's what you need to do. Go back to the racing track or the toll gate or whatever. Drive slowly. Yeah, that's what I said. Drive slowly. Here's the thing. When you're versing an opponent or you just want to get a faster lap time and then everything gets a little bit too fast for you, you get a little bit overwhelmed, you're not anticipating things as perfectly as you were. Well, slow down. If you try go fast, blindly opening the throttle earlier, you're just gonna put stress on your tires. If you can't anticipate everything, that means you can't balance your car properly for the corner. So what you need to do is drive slower. Focus on driving the car right. You need to balance it perfectly through every corner. Only a perfectly balanced car can be fast enough. I bet you driving at your own limit, not exceeding it, but at what you think is the slower pace. The fact that you have enough anticipation to balance your car perfectly, I bet you your lap times are going to be faster while you're driving slower. Even if you are faster for, I don't know, like 1 or 2 laps, going at that too fast pace where you can't anticipate, you can't balance your car properly, you're gonna wreck your tires. Then you're gonna be like, oh, it's understeering. Oh, the rear's coming out, and your opponent's just gonna come past you. So if it's too fast for you, slow down. And in your driving, you should train yourself to exercise a good anticipation for corners, like 5 miles anticipation. I'm not just talking about track knowledge. And you're gonna tell me, well, what if I don't know the track I'm racing on? Well, here's what anticipation for corners is. On your new track, when you're exiting a corner and you don't know if it's gonna be a right-hander or left-hander or just a plain straight, what you should do is at the same speed that you would go exiting the corner, going full throttle all the way to the edge of the racetrack, full wide for a normal corner exit, getting ready for a straight. Go at that same pace, but just pull off extra rotation so you can end up in the middle of the track, ready to face whatever could be coming your way. In this way, you could keep up with locals. I mean, another good thing, deploy a wide entry, fast exit. That could also help you in anticipation for coming corners. But it's not just being prepared for corners on a track that you don't know. It's also for a track that you do know. While you're still on the straight, you should be thinking 2 or 3 corners ahead so you can have your perfect run. Build anticipation, it comes with seat time. And I remember one really amazingly good, very underrated training that I did when I used to go kart more often. I don't have any go kart contents on the YouTube channel. I did it before I got serious about YouTube. But when I used to go kart regularly, when I used to race during my own practice, just by myself, what I'd do is go fully 100% to the inside and try and maintain the speed I would have with the normal racing line I take. I'd deploy extra rotation and then my rear would slip out and then I'd lose time by that. And then I'd be like, oh, I need to fix that. I can't just plainly give more rotation at the same speed and expect it to work. This time I'll turn in a little earlier, give a bit of understeer, deploy rotation, maybe get a little brake drift. Should I do that? And I go through all these things, trying different things until I can get fast just on the inside. Then I'd move to the outside, then back to the inside. And then by this, I learn how to overtake while maintaining my speed as if I'm taking the racing line. So the opponents around me don't slow me down. It's incredible. You should try it. Not try it. You should implement it in all of your driving. You literally stay on the apex throughout your whole lap. Actually, many laps. You need to do this for many laps. Refine your driving. Then stay right on the outside. Practice going on the grass. I'm serious. You need to practice all of these things. The one guy I used to verse quite regularly. Me and him raced a lot. Just our own casual races. He will swear to you with his really good, humble heart that I'm better than him. But we were neck and neck. And a lot of the time, he was clearly outrunning me. One place, though, that I did always get him is at a super slow chicane after a super fast bend that was after a long straight. What I did is a braking drift entering the corner. So I'd do it before the chicane, like just before the chicane, and I'd go into the chicane brake drifting. But my braking drift was not too big of an angle that I missed the engine. You see, when you're drifting, I'm talking about rotation. When you're trying to drift properly, when you're trying to rotate the car, you have to push the engine in the trajectory you want to go. Push the engine in the trajectory of rotation. That's how I could slow down in a very short time using the blocking friction of the tires going at that angle, creating friction. But I could still corner while I'm slowing down at that pace. In this case, with a little go-kart, you part of the engine. You're the center weight with the engine. Kind of in the same position, sort of, far back, mid-engine, that sort of thing. You have to push yourself. Your wheels can't be missing you. He always got me at the hairpin, though. Yeah, I could not keep up with him there. What else can I tell y'all? Oh, another thing. Those carts that we drove, most of the time the tires were shot. I'm not gonna say they were good carts. I mean, they were really fun, but they weren't the best. Drifting does not always work. You gotta know when and how to drift. That's why I made the balance series. That's why I thought to myself that that guy is an idiot that I mentioned right at the beginning of this video. You gotta know why you wanna drift. You gotta know what rotation is. Where's all the weight of the car? What is the center weight? All the weight of the go-kart is really far back. If you've got a good go-kart, you hardly ever need to drift. An important thing to hone as a driver is a limitless thought of possibilities for compensation. Put your brain on creative mode. I remember one time I went to this very sus go-karting place, and the one part of the track was awfully wet while the whole rest of it was dry. It's very unprofessional. But the part of the track that was wet was on the left side. My left tires went into it. And then there was a fast right-hander straight after that. So what I did was turn in quite early and slightly, very slightly, nick the right front side of the cart onto the tires. That would push on the front right tire, push on the right side of the car, give me a little bit more rotation without me myself being aggressive so I can avoid understeer. But you have to do it properly, because if you just hit the tire, I mean, it does slow you down. The way I did it, it made me go faster. I was not able to brake as fast because my tires were wet. That sudden hit helped me slow down a little bit more. What happened was the mass on the right side was getting stopped while the momentum of the left was carrying on. And then I just controlled that. So it wasn't too much of a slow down. The fact is my left tires were wet and those were slicks. That was the best I could do. I'm not Fernando Alonso. I'm a YouTuber. A faster way to complete that corner. Just handle the water better. Don't hit the tire at all. But the principle, right? I mean, the one time I even drove a car with no brakes. But I was like, you know what? I'm not going to complain about this. I'm going to go for it. I'm going to compensate. I choose compensation. And that same guy I talked about just now, who I raced, he got me fair and square. Obviously, easy. He could brake. I couldn't. I had to find some other way to slow down. Use blocking friction on a braking drift without brakes. I just have to swing the car. It was no surprise that he walked past me. But then at the end, for a while, I saw that I was keeping up. Not properly. Yeah, there was a big distance between us, but the gap was not growing. That's why you should have the mindset not to complain about the car or the cart or whatever you're driving. Don't be like Max Verstappen. Compensate. Here's something you need to remember. All my waffling, it won't get you many places. What will get you places is seat time. So get into your car, your cart, or your sim, or whatever you're doing, and get faster. Remember, go slower to go faster. Once you know now how to drive your car, you're rotating perfectly, you have good anticipation, you're comfortable with the car, it's becoming almost second nature to rotate it properly, then that's when you start with something called stretching. Stretch your car out. That's what it is. You're stretching your car out. Now, you see, when you're going at your slow pace, in a car where rotation demands a little bit of drifting, sometimes the tires slipping can fool you into thinking that you're at the limit. But then again, something else is nagging at you saying, I could have put more down. I could have gone faster. I was holding back. It's when your car is too tight, not stretched out, and then you want to open the throttle to go faster during mid-corner. When you realize this, even though you might be still pushing your engine in the trajectory of your rotation, you're putting too much pressure on your rear tires. You're going to lift up the wheel speed ratio too much. Wanting to go faster in a car that starts at the corner too tight, not stretching enough. You see, rotation is not made to accelerate the car fast out of a corner or launch it. Rotation is made to balance the car perfectly to complete the corner at top speed. Entry speed matters because if in mid-corner you realize you're not going that fast enough, you can put more in. So you want to stretch your car now, and then you open the throttle more. Not only might it be a little bit too much G-force for your rear tires if you do it too hard, too suddenly, the front wheels are slower. The front wheels are going at the slow pace you enter the corner in. They're going at that current slow pace, increasing the speed with the rear tires. Even without the front tires slipping, there is a very, very small, minute level of blocking friction. The front tires are going at the slow pace. So then again, put pressure on your rear tires. From before entering the corner to the exit, you need to stretch it properly. You see, the time when you notice the limit, during rotation, your fronts are on the verge of slipping, where any little move could switch the slip angle to the front wheels and not the rear wheels. That part where balancing the car becomes such a small margin. The perfect way to stretch your car. Adjust your racing line. Sit more on the outside on the straight towards the corner and turn in. Turn in a little earlier with less steering angle and less aggression, and enter the corner with more speed. Start rotation a little earlier. And when you put foot down to exit the corner, let that timing be a little earlier. Don't be afraid to go a little wide towards the track limits or the barrier or the tire wall. The acceleration must force you to the side. You need to stretch your car out so far that your car doesn't have enough grip to not go all the way to the edge. Other examples of when your car is not stretched out properly for cornering. Sometimes you could be driving and on the exit of a corner or during the corner, you're putting too much steering angle at some parts. Let's talk about the exit. You've got too much steering angle on the exit. You're trying to pull all the power down. That too much steering angle, maybe with a bit of understeer, a bit of tire slipping in the front, that causes blocking friction. It slows you down. You don't want that. You can literally turn faster by turning less. Lean more. Not simply because you want to lean more, but because you're taking the corner at a faster pace and you want to rotate properly. Stretching out your car is basically just increasing the speed. So stretching out your car is basically entering the corner at a faster pace. Yes, you're pushing the engine in a trajectory of rotation. If you need to slip your rear tires, you're doing that, but you're not lifting the wheel speed ratio too high. It must be at the perfect point, and the front must not slow you down. Entry speed is crucial, but it's throughout the whole corner where you can choose whether you want to stretch your car or not. Not stretching it with a too tight, too high wheel speed ratio is going to be inefficient. You're going to wear out your tires. Stretching is crucial, man. You got to stretch your car. But the thing is, you only want to stretch your car once you've learned how to rotate. Testing out this one go-kart place, they had an amazing track. A similar corner to the one at Imola. It was very, very, very fast corner, and then it goes tighter and tighter and tighter the more you go through. It's amazing. But to the point, so I got in the cart and I was trying to balance it from the beginning, going flat out. But because I didn't know the course, I was rotating more, not stretching it out quite yet. It was very tight. But it took a while and then I could start stretching it. And at corners, I was constantly feeling I could have stretched it out in that corner. It was too tight, and that lifted the wheel speed ratio, which made me slip a little too much. That made me lose speed. So I focused on stretching it into the corner as fast as I possibly can. And then, once I start the corner, then I was just on the mission to balance it perfectly. But then the time was running out, and I wasn't expecting something big. I mean, it was my first time at the track. First time in that kart. That kart that I drove there. The grip was front bias. It was very nice. It was lovely to drive. But then I was told the one more lap, and then after that I had to quit, get out of the cart, and then I was told, yo, you got the fastest lap. I was like, what? Of what? Of this week. It's not far off of the fastest of all time at this place. Damn, if I just gave it more. I mean, I didn't know I'm gonna get the fastest of the week. Here's the thing. There was not much point of getting the fastest of the week. Oh, I got the fastest of the week, whatever. The fact is, the other people who went during the week, they were like 3 or 4 seconds off me. So it wasn't an achievement. But I was about 1.9 seconds off the fastest ever at that place. It hurts. I mean, I knew I was driving quite fast, but I was not sucking half of the full potential out of the cart. That's what I was feeling. I was not driving it perfectly. If you told me that I'm really going fast, I might have hammered down. Or if I got another 10 minutes after that. If you're wondering why I couldn't just get those other 10 minutes, I was broke. I haven't posted any go-karting on the channel. So I want to get a GoPro so I can do it properly. And also, I haven't been go-karting much lately. It's been rough, but I'm going to get back to it in the future. If you want to see go-karting, subscribe.